Alright, what's going on everyone? So today we are going to be installing a grounding kit for this 2-liter Genesis coupe. This is from 3.8 Performance. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to pick one up yourselves. Just know that they are experiencing some delays over there, but you will get it eventually. It does take a couple extra weeks to get it though. And this should be a pretty straightforward and pretty simple install, so let's get right into it. Alright, so if you're wondering why you would need a grounding kit, essentially there's sensors in the engine where, let's just say, it needs, say, 12 volts. The stock grounding wires aren't the best, so sometimes when you need, say, 12 volts, you're actually getting 11.4, so you're not getting the most accurate reading, and that could affect performance and stuff like that. So it's pretty simple. Basically, we're going to take this one side that's going to connect to our negative terminal on our battery, and then this wire splits off into 4 connectors, and we're going to put those throughout the engine bay to properly ground this engine. Right, so getting started with our first location, it's actually just going to be right here, that bolt right there. That is the stock ECU ground wire. We're just going to take that bolt off and then put one of our grounding wires in between the bolt and the pre-existing wire, and then we'll be done there. We just need a 10mm socket for that, and actually you need a 10mm for just all of these. Alright, and just like that, it is connected. We'll clean up the wires towards the end of the job. So now moving on to our second location, that is going to be this hose right here. If you remove it, it's going to go right there. I have seen some people where they remove this sensor and they put it down right in there. Let's see if I can show you guys. Yeah, like right where my finger is, right where that bolt is. They put it down there just for more of a cleaner look. You don't have to do that, that's just personal preference. Alright, so now as you can see, we have our second one wired up. So now our third one is actually going to go to that bolt that I was talking about, where you could relocate the sensor if you wanted to. It is right there. Yeah, right there. So yeah, let's get to that one next. Alright, and just like that, the third one is installed in that bolt right there. So just to recap, you have your third one right there, your second one is right on here, and then the first one is right here, which now brings us to the fourth one, and this is where things get kind of difficult. So 3.8 Performance recommends that you put the fourth and final point on your starter bolt. The thing is, to get to that, you have to, it's like way down in there. You have to pretty much jack up your car, take off your wheel, which I don't really feel like doing right now. I know other people recommend that you can either, if you don't want to do the starter thing, it might be a little hard to show. Alright, so there's really no good way I can show you this with my phone, it's just too big, but right there where that bolt is, that is the engine mount, and if you can see right there, there is that wire. Right above that engine mount is where there is a ground. People recommend that you can put it there instead of on the starter. I don't really know if it's like necessarily easier than just doing what 3.8 recommends, but I mean, it might be a little bit easier. I just don't know if it's going to save any time. It's really personal preference at that point. I mean, 3.8 does recommend that you put on the starter, and since they make the product, it's probably a smarter choice to go with them, but realistically, I don't think it will make that big of a difference. So I'm gonna try to do that fourth one and go from there. Also, it is worth mentioning that so each wire is a slightly different length. So you're going to see, because there's 4 wires in total, 2 of them are almost identical in length, and then this one is the longest, and then there's a fourth one that's kind of in between the longest and the shortest wires. So what I ended up doing is the 2 wires that are identical in length, I use those 2 for that one, and then the one down there, and then for the one that's kind of the middle length one, that was for our ECU one, and then the longest one we're going to use to get in the engine, because whether you use it for the starter or the engine bolt mount down there, you know, that's going to be like the furthest like away from the battery, so you might as well get the longest length one for that. And then once we're done with that, we'll do some cable management. All right, so the fourth bolt is on. I found an angle where you can just barely see it. This right here is the throttle body, and if you look right in between there, that is the bolt, and right there is the ground wire. So all I did was I just took my hand in right through here with a 10mm socket and was able to take that off and then put it back on. I wasn't honestly that bad. It only took me like 10-15 minutes. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than it is. I mean, that was definitely the hardest one out of the four, but even that one wasn't even that bad. Okay, so now that we have the 4 ground points all wired up, all we're gonna do is just do some cable management, get all the cables nice and neat, and then I'm gonna grab my light here so you can see. Basically right in here, right there, that is where the ground for your negative terminal on your battery is. We are just going to mount the other end of that to there as well. All right, and just like that, the final part is installed. If you come and take a look, you can see it is right there. So now all we gotta do now is just do some cable management to clean up all this wiring. So what I'm thinking is to get this slack, and if you look, there's a little pocket in there. If you see, there is a sheet metal right there. So like a little pocket. I think I'm gonna put most of the excess wires in there and get some zip ties and just clean it up. All right, so I've gone ahead and cleaned them up a bit. As you can see, I went ahead and just used some zip ties. I mean, they're not the cleanest runs possible. I was just really going for just functionality and such, but just to recap, so we do 1 point there, 1 point there, a third one right down there, and then the fourth one we talked about, which was in there. It's kind of hard to show that one. And then they all converge down in there, right there. And then, yeah, I just went ahead and put the excess wiring tucked behind the battery and then zip tied it up. So now all that's left to do is start the car and make sure we didn't you know, kill this car. All right, so let's see about a startup. All right, start it up. All right, well, that's a good sign. Starts up. Yeah, we're not getting any errors on our dash, so that's pretty good. So, yeah, I guess in a few days from now, we might do a follow-up video just to see if we notice any sort of improvements. And other than that, guys, that's pretty much just been how to install the wiring harness. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I got this from 3.8. I believe the guy, I believe his name was Dustin, who was running that site, unfortunately passed away, so I know his wife took over, so that's why they're experiencing some delays. I've seen some negative reviews where people were kind of like mentioning how they were waiting upwards of 2-3 months to get their parts. I know that can look kind of scammy. It's not. Like, if you place your order, eventually you will get it, but there are delays. That is something to be aware of, but they do allow you to order through PayPal, so you can get a refund if you don't want to wait that long. I think from the day I placed this order to when it showed up yesterday, I probably waited pushing maybe 5-6 weeks, so you know, you can expect me about the same wait time. But yeah, guys, other than that, that has been this video. I will see you in the next one.